Okay, I feel like we're a little out of sync here. We need to like do some exercises or something to get to normal podcast
Okay.
etiquette.
What do we need to do?
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color would have to be green. That's just a gimme for me. What about you?
My favorite color is also green, so that's a
Well
fail.
then. Well then. That wasn't much of a building exercise, was it?
Okay, so if you were stuck in a burning building,
Mm-hmm.
no, sorry, you're running into a burning building.
Oh, okay.
On the left are your three cats, and on the right, um, your girlfriend. Who do you save? The three cats or the human being?
The human being.
Are you recording? Are you in a room that she's in?
Nope.
Because like, why else would you say that?
Well, it's just the way that that's just the real answer. The cats could figure it out. Are you ready to start talking about this movie?
Yeah, it's just been so long, and I'm sure
What do you
this.
mean it's been so long?
Well, it's been like a week and 2 days since we.
Oh, I see. Since we recorded last.
Yeah, and I've come fairly unprepared to this one, so we'll see
That's
how that
fine.
goes.
I think it's going to be a shorter one. That's my gut feeling.
By unprepared, I mean I've done all the same notes that I would normally have done. Um,
Oh, okay.
maybe I'm just in a mood.
Could be.
Okay, well, uh, the podcast. Let's just start it. I feel echoey.
Let's do it.
I don't think I'm echoey. Did you know that this was based on a true story?
I did.
Tombstone. We watched Tombstone, the
We did.
1993 epic movie. There was so many people that you might have recognized in this movie.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
and I made a list of the people who you would recognize.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Kurt Russell, the main guy, he plays Wyatt Earp. He might be best known for playing the character of Copper, voicing the character of Copper in the 1981 Disney film The Fox and the Hound. He was the
Definitely his
star.
most famous role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the star of the movie. He grew a mustache. The I have one piece of trivia that I want to give at the end of this. But
Okay.
I have quite a big list of people that I want to talk about first.
All right. Let's do it.
So we have Kurt Russell, and then we have Val Kilmer. He
Mm-hmm.
played Doc Holliday. Did you know that Val Kilmer has been in 20 direct-to-video films?
No, did not know
20,
that.
20 of them. I was quite surprised.
That is a lot.
Sam Elliott, he plays brother Virgil. Virgil. Um,
Virgil.
he's best known for trying an English accent in the 1996 Disney film Adventures of Mowgli.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Paxton. Wyatt Earp has two brothers. Bill Paxton plays the second one, Morgan. Bill Paxton, obviously known for dying in the year 2017. Very sad.
That is sad.
Twister. Twister, one of the first movies I think I remember. Um, one of those movies that would play on TV all the time.
Yeah,
And I think I had an uncle who had a VHS of Twister, and they would just put it on to distract the children.
that's a classic.
Powers Booth, he played the evil Curly Bill, great villain. He's
Mm.
also best known for dying in 2017. I don't know what else I don't know what roles he would have played other than that, but Charleston Heston was in this movie. He played Henry Hooker. Jason Priestley, he's best known for playing, well, he played Billy, but he's best known for being Canadian. Who can forget Thomas Hayden Church, best known for playing Saltwater Redneck in The Peanut Butter Falcon.
Mhm.
He played another character named Billy. A lot of Billies in this movie. I don't
There
know if you
are.
noticed.
I did notice.
Michael Rooker. He was in this movie. He played. I didn't write this down, but some trivia. Michael Rooker was in the movie Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was in the movie Top Gun with
Yes.
Val Kilmer.
Oh, well, there you go.
Billy Bob Thornton. plays a bully. I thought Billy Bob Thornton, in his short role, did a great job. Touch on that later.
Okay.
Billy Zane in this movie. Billy Zane, best known for the Titanic, obviously. Nothing else. Terry O'Quinn, he was in Lost. Played, I don't know what his character's name was, but
He was
he
the
was
guy
like
in
a,
the bunker.
yeah, he was, yeah. Um, the cast was stacked. I don't believe there was a single woman in the movie, though.
Well, they don't play a huge role, do they?
This was a man's movie.
I guess so.
This was like a Saturday evening beer and barbecue.
Hmm.
Uh, dad puts on a movie. He puts on Tombstone.
Yes, definitely.
Anyways, I've talked enough. How did you feel about this movie, Tombstone? Your choice for episode 15 of Your Mother Ate My Dog, the podcast.
Well, I got to say, I had known about this movie for a long time. It wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be. I'll say that. And I guess as a general sort of my general takeaway, I suppose, is that it's not as good as thought it was going to be because I did have a little bit of expectations. And yeah, you would think with such a high amount of well-known actors that there would be some great performances, but I think that it was a little lacking overall. Did you have any performances that kind of stood out for you? Besides, you said Billy Bob Thornton. You liked his short role. Anything else?
Um, I liked the acting in this movie. I thought that they all kind of played well off each other, especially Wyatt and his brothers and Doc Holliday.
Mm,
I Val Kilmer, playing a man with tuberculosis, um, did a fine job. I
well,
mean, my acting score isn't like great
mm-hmm,
considering the caliber of actors compared to the acting,
yeah.
but uh, I didn't think that there was any bad performances.
Well, I will say I'm not in the same boat as you, but I did think that Val Kilmer's was good. He was definitely my favorite performance, and it was actually quite solid. He was the most interesting character, and like every scene, I was most interested in what he was doing. I thought Kurt Russell. What did you think about him?
He was fine.
Hmm. Yeah, I just found him a little flat. I guess I thought almost every interaction between characters was really flat. Again, like they were like I've mentioned this before with some other films. It just sounded like they were just reading the lines and like not given any time to work on the lines maybe together or something like that and build a bit of chemistry. It felt very flat to me. Especially like with Kurt Russell and his, like his love interest. What was it? What was her name? Dana or something?
Josephine, is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, that's the actress's name is Dana. Yeah, Josephine. And I like it was, and also every line. Like I thought the writing in this movie was like terrible, and I predicted it, like almost everything people were gonna say. And like when that one time where Kurt Russell and I guess Wyatt Earp and Josephine go on like this horseback ride, and then they end up like in a meadow or whatever, and they're talking about their futures. And she was like, "Oh, I just want room service." And he's like, "Ha ha ha, room service." And I'm like, I guarantee he's gonna say that like near the end of the movie. It's like, let's go get room service, and that's exactly what happened. Like I don't know, the writing in this movie I thought was so bad.
Did you ever play Red Dead Redemption 2?
No, I didn't.
I feel like they stole the plot from Tombstone. Um, there was when they were on horseback looking over whatever that was from Red Dead. Um, Arthur has tuberculosis.
Hmm.
Um, I thought maybe it was just because in the olden days in a western, and there's a lot of horses, but it was pretty similar. So I feel like I've seen this movie before because I played the
Right,
game.
right. Yeah, and there
Yeah.
was there was like some of the bigger names like Bill Paxton. I thought he was like one of the worst actor, like it was one of the worst performances in this movie. I just like hated everything he said. And um, who else? There's so many people to talk about it. Billy Zane's character was really stupid, I thought. Yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of like terrible performances, I thought. Sam Elliott wasn't bad. Val Kilmer being the best, and everyone else was just very not that interesting. And like the bad guys, the whole like cowboy crew, no one was good on from them. They were all so stupid.
Okay. Well, that's a good start. Um, I liked Curly Bill as a villain. I wouldn't say that maybe he wasn't the greatest actor, but as a villain, it felt good when the good guys won. Spoilers. But okay, we're getting a little negative here. So I'm going to give you another trivia.
Yeah,
All of the mustaches in the movie were real.
I thought that was they did seem like that was true. Some real facial hair going on.
And you said that you liked Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday.
Yes, definitely.
What if I told you that the original choice for Doc Holliday was an actor very, very important to this podcast? We bring him up probably every single one. Willem Dafoe was the original choice to play Doc Holliday, but the only reason why he didn't play Doc Holliday was because of a movie he was in 5 or 6 years earlier called The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah, which had a lot of controversy around it.
Very controversial film, apparently.
Hmm.
And they were told that if he's in the movie, we're not um, distributing the film. The film is dead if Willem Dafoe is in it. So they went with their second choice, Val Kilmer.
Hmm.
I thought Willem Dafoe would have been an interesting choice.
I think so too. Definitely. Yeah, I got to hit a point I was going to bring up. Another thing that I know I'm going kind of negative, but I had a negative experience with this movie. The sets I thought were garbage. Like the least convincing 1800 late 1800s set I've ever seen. It was so terrible. Like everything was just so like clean and like perfect, and there was just no like grittiness to it. There was no believability. It just looked so fake. I hated it.
Can you tell me what happened to you before watching the movie? Did something
No, nothing.
terrible happen? Did you have a bad food experience?
No, nothing like that. I went into
Okay.
this movie nice and excited and in a good mood.
So for the second straight movie, I think we're kind of differing a little bit. Maybe I've just kind of loosened some expectations that I have. I liked the set. I thought it was fun. I had zero expectation going into this movie because I didn't really know anything about it.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
I was just ready for like a fun romp in the Arizona sun, and that's what I got. I wasn't maybe this is bad as a podcaster and somebody who should be, you know, really trying to dig into the movie's core, but I just wanted a fun time, and I thought that it was they were nice. They were nice sets.
Hmm.
Um, Fun horses, fun watching a man get shot in the street. Loved it.
I found like a lot of the moments where I thought would had the most potential for fun, they just like montaged it. There was like a lot of montages of like the action. It's like, no, I don't want this to be montaged right now. I want to watch the action because all of the dialogue is so terrible that I and the action sequences were pretty good. So like, give me more of that. Make this an action movie. And like the first hour of this movie, nothing happens. I'm like, it was like got an hour in. I'm like, what is the plot? Like, what is? what's the inciting incident? Is anything going to happen? It was so infuriating.
I agree. And then, I mean, then things start to happen. We see people get murdered and people get hanged in the street.
Yeah, there's like a couple scenes like that, but I don't know. Like,
This was a 2 hour and 10 minute movie.
yeah,
So if they didn't montage stuff, they could have, I guess they could have tightened things up in different places.
I just thought they could have picked more interesting. I don't know,
They,
interesting scenes. I guess
they could have had a woman do something, I guess.
that's true. That would have been good. Also, they were just like the women in this movie were just there to be like they seemed like they were written to be purposefully like annoying, and that's it.
Just
Except,
just to, play for the men, just to
yeah,
have the man go home to the woman.
basically, it was pretty shitty. Um, yeah, and another thing I noticed also was like in some of the action scenes, like so the very odd choices, like when that one where Kurt Russell's like in a gunfight with the cowboys, and then he's just like, no. And then he just like steps out from a bush and just starts yelling no, like with like a shotgun, and like slow motions, him going no, like the stupidest thing.
There are a lot of instances where Kurt Russell should have died,
Yeah,
but somehow survived without a bullet, even touching him.
yep,
Wyatt Earp, a god among men.
suppose so.
74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is a, I do not understand how that's even remotely possible.
Okay, so clearly this was not a top movie for Jesse.
No,
Would you say this was the worst movie that you've watched of the 15 that we've watched?
no, it's not the worst, but it's pretty damn close. It's not
Well, that's
getting.
sad. That's sad because, there was so much build up to Tombstone.
I know. I was excited for this one. It sucked. I really hated it the whole time, man.
Perhaps this is a lesson that we've all learned here, and that's don't don't have too high of an expectation, or don't pick a movie that you're like, man, I really want this to be good,
I guess
because
so.
it'll just bring out negativity, and then you'll bring down everybody listening because all they wanted was a positive experience, a positive Western.
Hmm.
Do we even bother doing scores, or do you just want to crap on it some more?
We can run through scores. That's fine with me.
Okay, just to kind of get this over with and
Yeah.
bury it and go on to the next one.
Yeah. Kind of getting that feeling.
Tombstone 2.
The return of no.
So this was based on true events.
Yeah. So if we
What?
if we want to do originality, I would try to find things that maybe were original about the way it was shot or the writing or something like that. Or we can just get rid of originality.
Sure, just get rid of it.
All right, get it out of here.
5 originality.
Yeah, well, sure.
Okay, how do you feel about the ending then?
The ending was not good. It was like, one of those classic like, the voiceover guy pops in and he's like, Wyatt Earp lived the rest of his life, dude. He's like, I don't know, I don't really like those kind of endings. And I don't know, I just didn't care at all what happened to anyone. It just like had none of my focus. So the ending was just like, who cares?
So this ending score will be bad because the movie up to the point was bad.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna give. It's just like who cares? I did not care about the ending at all, and like the parts that I experienced were not that interesting. So for ending, I have a 2.
Okay. 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 I give it a 5. Standard happy ending. Good guys win. We get to see a duel because who doesn't want to see a duel in the Western? Wyatt pursues his mistress to begin a new life, and Doc Holliday dies from his tuberculosis, and that's basically it.
Yep.
Virgil is successful, and Bill Paxton dies.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 5. Yeah, it was good. good. I mean, I don't know what could have made the ending better.
Lots of things.
Okay, let me just guess. Your expectation score will be a 2?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have like insanely high expectations. I just kind of like just thought it was supposed to be a better movie than this because I did see the Rotten Tomatoes score before I started. I try not to see it, but I just happened to, and so I'm like, okay, so it's supposed to be a pretty solid movie, and it just wasn't. But I didn't have like these insane expectations, so for that I had a 3.
I didn't check to see if this movie won any Oscars.
It better not have. It better not even have been nominated.
I gave my expectation score a 5 again, just because, um, much like in the past when we don't really have expectations for it, and it kind of, it was fine. It didn't meet, well, it met, it didn't like exceed expectations. It was, fine movie. 2 hours. I watched it. I actually watched it over 2 days. I watched the first hour and 5 minutes on Monday, and then the second hour and 5 minutes on Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yep, 5. Acting, I give it a 7.
Oh,
And that was before I talked to you about how much you hate everything. I thought the acting was fine. I liked Curly Bill as a bad guy, and you know, I liked Billy Bob Thornton. I liked Val Kilmer. I agree about Billy Zane being useless. Um, they were they were playing the western part. Sam Elliott was fine. 7. You're gonna give acting a 2.5, 2.5.
no, not quite. I Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the acting was particularly good. Val Kilmer's performance I thought was solid. The only good performance in my mind. Sam Elliott was, like I also said, was actually he was good. So maybe not the only good performance, but besides that, like I've seen Kurt Russell in way better things, like The Thing. He's so good in that movie.
Like
And
playing Copper in the 1981 film The Fox and the Hound.
yeah, his voiceover work is, second to none. And Bill Paxton, who I really like he was very good in Apollo 13, and he's
Twister.
in Twister. Sure, I like him what he's in usually. I thought this was like the worst performance I've ever seen from him, but I haven't seen all his movies, so I can't really. His character was just so pointless. Maybe that was the problem. It could have been it could have been the writing. Like his lines were never like that interesting. He never, yeah. Anyway, for acting, like it's a good thing Val Kilmer was here because he saves the score a little bit, and that he had so much screen time. That he was in it enough to make that performance bring the score up. So for acting, I gave it a 4.
Is this the best podcast we've ever done?
The podcast episode.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it feels like it. I feel like I'm getting things off of my chest. This thing that's just been boiling inside me, and I just want to get it out
You have a lot of pent up negative energy. You're
about this.
taking it on Tombstone,
No,
the
no, 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 no,
great
no.
Western.
The negative pent up energy is a result of this film.
My score to 10 is 9.5. I thought
No.
this movie was brilliant. I give it a 6. 6 out of 10. Fun movie. Lots of action. Well, there was action. There was
Mm-hmm.
death. We saw some hanging. We saw duels. A man falling in love. A dude dying of tuberculosis. Women were almost in it.
Yeah.
It had everything. Had the guy from Lost. 6 out of 10.
Okay. Now I will say, there's been a lot of negativity up until this point. I've given a little beams of light of sort of positivity, like Val Kilmer's performance. I will give you another positive about this movie. Something I enjoyed about this movie. It was seeing people in it and saying, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Because it happened all the time. There were just so many new characters. That was another thing. There were so many characters in this movie, but it was fun, like seeing all the actors I recognize. So there's a positive for you. Like when Thomas Hayden Church was like, "Hey, it's the guy from George of the Jungle," and Billy Zane, I'm like, "Hey, it's the guy from The Phantom," and the guy who plays Yondu, I forget his name. I'm like, "Hey, it's Yondu," and the guy from Lost, and the guy from Sex and the City, and that was the fun part. That was like one of the only good things about this movie. The set was terrible, in my opinion. I've seen way more convincing sets for this time period. Like, even like a movie like Shanghai Noon with Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson, like a comedy. The set and like costumes were like way better in that movie than in this one. The writing was terrible, like some of the worst writing ever. That out of these movies that we all the movies we've watched for this podcast, this is probably the worst writing, in my opinion. There was just so many, and there was just so many scenes where like somebody says something and then it cuts away. It's like what was the point of that scene? Like what was the point of what they just said? Like absolutely nothing. And yeah, the problems with the women in this movie, like they weren't written to do anything significant in this movie, which was also a problem I thought. Uh, so maybe this is sort of shaping up to be my least favorite movie out of all the ones we've seen. I don't know what I gave like The Haunting. I don't quite remember. Probably like a 3.5 or a 4 or something like that.
You should go back and listen to those episodes. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to right here, right now. I'm going to vow. By the time we watch the next episode, I will have gone back and listened to all of our episodes and write down our scores for every movie. Because every time I forget what I gave all the other movies. So this is my vow. I'm going to do it. But anyway, to add to that list of scores, I'm going to give this movie. See, what I have written down, I think maybe even was a little generous. I'm giving this movie a 3.5, 3.5.
3.5 Billies out of 10, which
Yeah,
is the amount of character of Billies that there were
yeah. There were 3.5 Billies.
characters named Billy
Mm-hmm.
per every 10 characters.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, what a ride.
Whatever.
What a horseback ride through the wonderfully built town of Tombstone, Arizona,
Man,
where Wyatt Earp and his gang went to the OK Corral and fought with the cowboys and then fell in love and died of tuberculosis.
it's weird. It's usually when I like see a Rotten Tomato score, I find that the score is lower than it ought to be. I'm like, oh, like it wasn't that bad. But in this case, it was complete opposite. I don't know how it got 78 or whatever you said it got. I
74.
don't know how that's even remotely possible.
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Tombstone is over now. We don't have to talk about Tombstone anymore. I want to bring your happiness back to a good
Okay,
level,
I'm going.
and I
I'm
think
getting there.
I think the next movie that we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
watch will do that for you.
Okay,
Bad news, it does not have Willem Dafoe in it.
but it does have that guy who's in a lot of uh, Coen Brothers movies. What's his name?
John
Yep.
Goodman, he might have a small role in it. The dad from Home Alone apparently is the lead. I'm going to say it out loud because it's, I think, an obscure movie. I certainly had never heard of it until it was.
I think it's quite popular in like the horror movie canon. I think like people who really like horror movies will know what this movie is.
But do those people listen to our podcast?
That's a good point. Very good point.
So the movie is from 1984. It's an American science fiction horror film starring John Hurd, who is the dad from Home Alone, who also is dead now. A lot of dead people.
Yes.
The plot concerns a New York City police officer and a homeless shelter manager who team up to investigate a series of disappearances and discover that the missing people have been killed by a humanoid monster that live in the sewers. The movie, CHUD, stands for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. Film was released in North America on August 31st, 1984, and grossed 4.7 million. It was followed in 1989 by a sequel called Chud 2, Bud the Chud, and I'm not making that up.
Bud the
We're,
Chud.
we're watching the first one. I don't know how we're doing it. We probably will not watch the second one. I don't know what the Rotten Tomato score is. I can look it up.
Look it up. See,
Uh,
this is like brings us again back to our roots of watching film together.
29% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Mm-hmm.
which is where you kind of want these movies to be.
Yes, almost the same score I gave Tombstone.
2.9. Yeah, 2.9. Billy's out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Very close.
I think it's going to be a fun watch, even though I don't know how to watch it. We'll figure it out.
Movies like that, like might even be on YouTube. It's quite possible.
It might be. I think I'm just going to go to the VHS store and buy a copy.
Well, we do have a local video store, Pick a Flick, who would almost guaranteed have that film if you really wanted to rent it.
They still open?
They are.
Wow. Um, yeah. Okay. Well, that's fun. Tombstone. Does watching that movie change what movie you want to watch after Chud?
Um, I've actually been like sort of trying to decide what movie to watch. Like it hasn't been set in stone, I guess, but I do know exactly what movie I'm going to pick next.
You do know what kind of movie, or you know the movie?
I do know what movie. I've picked the movie. It was actually mentioned to me in passing while I was on a trip recently to Penticton, British Columbia. And somebody that I was that's sort of in the same
Boat, if you will.
yeah, if you would. They mentioned it and I was like, "Oh, I remember I've heard about that movie tons of times and I have no idea what it's about and I've always been meaning to watch it." So that's going to be it. It has Bruce Willis in it.
Is he dead in it? The Sixth Sense.
It's not The Sixth Sense, no.
Okay. Bruce Willis. Sad about Bruce Willis. Well, I look forward to discussing that further with you in 2 weeks' time,
Mm-hmm.
episode 17. Yeah, I guess you can probably just wrap this up. This is an episode which we can just kind of throw in the trash. Never
What?
never talk about again. It just
What? It wasn't a bad episode. I just didn't like the movie. That's all.
okay. Well,
Sometimes.
okay. I believe you. Sometimes we
Okay,
sometimes we hate
I
the movie.
believe you. Yeah, we can't always like the movie, you know.
We try
We've
to
had
pick
some.
try to pick movies that we like, but
Well, I mean, we've had lots of good ones. I mean, what was your? Did you were you expecting a good movie out of Tombstone? Were you like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a good movie. I'm excited.
I was expecting a a movie from the early '90s, a lot like a Top Gun, um,
Hmm.
just like a kind of a lame action movie that just takes place in Western
Right,
time.
right.
Which it wasn't that, but it was perfectly okay.
Okay, okay. We can move past it now. I'm done. Never to mention that film again.
I had this whole thing that I was going to do at the beginning where I joked that we just watched a documentary about the making of tombstones,
Oh
but then
yes.
and I thought that wouldn't have been that funny.
Well, it's just like kind of your humor. Not funny. Just kidding. Got him.
Although Chud was negatively received during its initial release, it attracted a cult following over the years, inspired the name of a film website,
Oh,
and references to it have appeared in The Simpsons,
really?
as well as other things like Rick and Morty. And it appeared in the 2003 video game Tony Hawk's Underground. That's crazy. Good game, good game. Okay, well, that's been the podcast.
I got to say
Okay,
one thing real quick before we finish this off. That your use of non sequiturs is unmatched.
what does that mean?
What's a non sequitur?
Explain to the people who may not know.
Well, like when I can't remember what just happened, but we were talking about something, and then you just started explaining the the reception of Chud, like in the public. I was like, well, that's not what we were talking about. It's just like a non sequitur is just like you change, you just start to say something random that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Sorry, the Wikipedia page is just up in front of me. Have you seen Children of the Corn?
See, there it goes again. There it goes again. No, I haven't seen Children of the Corn.
That might be a good one for the future.
It might be. I've. It's one of those ones that it's another like classic VHS horror film.
But I
And there's
think,
been like six of them.
yeah, I think the first one, like, probably the best one. I'd say it's a little more than just a VHS. I think it was a legit scary movie. It's like it's like
I
up there with
guess.
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff.
Hmm.
I don't know. Anyways, I was ready to end it, but any other things you want to talk about?
What kind of peanut butter is your favorite? I don't mean like crunchy and smooth. I mean like what brand?
Right now, actually, this weekend we just bought a new one. It's Western Family Smooth.
Okay.
Um,
Now
it
was
does well with in baking, which is mostly what we use
oh
it for because half the household is gluten free, allergic to gluten, so we don't eat much bread and stuff. So
oh so it's not used for say sandwiches. It's more or toast. It's more used for its uses in baking.
I do have it on toast from time to time, but it's mostly a baking peanut butter.
Okay.
So it's we buy the cheap one.
Fair enough.
We're not like fancy peanut butter people, like I'm sure you are.
I wouldn't go that far unless Kraft is fancy. When I think fancy peanut butter, I think Adams peanut butter. That's what I think.
Yeah,
We ain't no Adams. Well, we ain't an Adams family. Hey, have you seen that movie?
I have seen that movie, and I thought that was pretty good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, there's like multiple like Adams family values. I think that's like the second one or something.
The first one, actually, if we were gonna do the first one, my expectation score for that movie to what it actually was would have been like a 10. I had low expectations, and it hit hit all the right buttons for me.
Did
Great movie.
did you watch that recently?
Like 2 years ago, but it stood out.
Oh, okay.
It's like Halloween time. It
Mm-hmm.
was like right around the. I watched that and that other famous Halloween movie that I can't think of the name right now.
Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, I see.
It's a good day.
Yeah, you watched those both in the same day, did you?
Maybe I can't remember. It was so long ago.
Anywho, let's wrap this up.
Strawberry or raspberry jam?
Raspberry 150% of the time.
Okay.
Strawberry jam is literal trash.
Okay. So I'm in the strawberry jam boat, but
Oh God.
everybody I've ever asked is raspberry, and there's
So everyone else that you've asked is a normal human being, and then there's you.
yeah, and so we've had a lot of raspberry in the house, but then now
Hmm.
with no no gluten, I'm allowed to pick my own jam. So I pick strawberry because
What
nobody else eats the jam.
What do you mean now with no gluten? Like you're this person you speak of has just recently found out that they're gluten intolerant.
They've recently, well, over the last few months, and it's not a recent thing. It's a I'm actually gonna follow.
Oh, like actually do it.
Yeah.
I see. Yes. Okay. The Simpsons or Family Guy?
The Simpsons.
Okay, good. That's something we can agree on, I guess. Although I
Yeah,
don't.
it's been weird because we haven't really agreed on much recently.
Not recently. It was kind of like we agreed on a lot of things, and then now it's lately we've sort of not agreed.
I think Chud will be something we agree on. There's a character named Val in it,
Uh huh.
like Val Kilmer,
Uh huh.
and John Goodman plays Diner Cop.
Oh yes, his most famous role of all.
He's not even the only diner. There's two Diner Cops. He's just the more famous one.
Okay.
Anyway, very exciting.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just stop recording now.
Okay. Goodbye, Greg.
Oh yeah, Greg.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about him. Maybe that's why this was so bad. We didn't talk about Greg.
We did, just right at the end there. It wasn't
Uh,
bad. It wasn't a bad episode. I thought that was one of her better ones.
did you?
I did. Yeah. Just because I hated the movie doesn't mean it wasn't a good episode.
You were definitely the star of this one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, on that note, goodbye.
Bye.